Grand chorish 1 2 3 1 2 3. Accents right-sized hammer. Hi guys, my name is Vadim. I play drums, and today I would like to talk about one of my favorite topics when it comes to drumming, blast beats. And I have prepared 5 tips for you on how to improve your blast beat. And the first tip would be sort of an introduction tip. It's connected to the last tip, so I suggest you finish the whole video. The first tip is to not practice only one type of blast beat. Frankly speaking, because it's just they're way more different than one could think. Each blast beat has its own advantages and disadvantages. It's sort of like a right-sized hammer. You need to learn pretty much every type of blast beat for you in order to understand which one will fit better this or that song. So that's the tip number 1, and tip number 2 is to learn to play with the gap on the right cymbal. I will elaborate on that. When it comes to playing accents on right, on bell, right? You play it either every second time or every third time. What I feel is a problem with playing every second time is just a little bit too much. You don't let the blast beat breathe. It's just too intense. I don't think that this type of playing is suitable if you play faster than 210, maybe 220. When it comes to second way of playing blast beat, every third note, sort of like 1 2 3 1 2 3. This way doesn't have such problem. It's more breathable, but it has more flow, it has more drive. But when it comes to playing quadro grooves such as 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4, it breaks the groove, it breaks the flow of the groove, because you play 1 2 3 1 2 3 applicature. When it has to be 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. I picked up this third way from Eric Marotti from Clitoris and Suffocation, from one of his videos where he tracks drums for this Clitoris band. He plays without ride every fourth time, 1 2 3 4, where 4 is without a stroke and ride. It creates very interesting flow. It's breathable, yet it's very intense. I'll first show you the first 2 I talked before, and then I'll show you this third one, how Eric Marotti and I believe Eugene Ryabchenko plays the same way too. So the number 2 with every second accent. This has very grand chorish flow, like very intense, aggressive, without any room to breathe. Has a really nice flow, really nice, very nice drive. It sounds like you're playing triplet notes. It's not always applicable, it's not always suitable. But how they play it, has few advantages. First of all, we maintain the flow, even if it's a quadro beat. We let the blast beat breathe, let the hand rest a little bit, and then every now and then we can, instead of this gap, we can just play accents and stuff. And that, I believe, is a huge advantage over other 2 traditional blast beats. Tip number 3 would be to be able to switch between blast beats, traditional blast beat and deathcore blast in particular. I'll explain you why. When we play traditional blast beat, our cymbal hand and our kick drum are playing in unison, and our snare drum play against it. As soon as you switch to deathcore blast, usually not always, but you will play it with your strong hand. That means that you now move your snare and your kick drum together, so now they play in unison. Each blast beat has its own advantages and disadvantages, but what I think is important in this situation is to maintain the drive, to maintain the groove of the blast beat. Because if you play with snare and kick drum against each other, and then all of a sudden you start playing them together, it breaks the flow. So what I do is I just start playing 16th notes with my kick drums. I'll show you how I do it. So what does it give us? Feeling of completion. Then yet again we're continuing with the second part. Tip number 3 is to be able to play accents on snare. Not only crashes, rides and whatever cymbals. Let me demonstrate that to you. we add one extra voice. It's one more way to accent, whether it's guitars, vocals, general song structure. And my fifth tip, the second part of my first tip. Every time I see extreme metal drummer, I see that he or she has a favorite way to play blast beats. It can be traditional blast beats, but with some weird accenting, or it can be deathcore blast, but like I said, with snare accents or something like that. For me personally, it was traditional blast because I started playing drums in 2000s, in like 2003 or something. Deathcore back then was not existing yet. I was listening to mainly death metal, like American school death metal and Norwegian black metal, and of course the traditional blast there was the main thing. I sort of got too used to play that and stuff, and later on, for me, it became very hard to play accents with my cymbal hand. When I played traditional blast, it was very hard for me to play accents, so I could never play accent and continue with blast beat. I sort of had to stop the blast, accent, and play the new one. I'll show you what I mean. I'm sure a lot of people had similar problems, or maybe still do. It was something like that. For me, the reason that happened is because my synchronization was at the wrong part. You need to synchronize your blast beats almost all the time in parallel way, like that, with your feet and with your hand, with your snare hand in particular. So you always have... And for me it was very hard to remove my hand from the right cymbal and play accent while having that with my feet and with my snare hand. So what I suggest is practice some extra minutes, extra hours on this one here. Just try and make your feet and your snare independent. Don't dig into the hand motion. Try and be independent here and maintain the groove between your kick drum and snare rather than focusing more on blast beat in general. The direction the extreme music is taken now is it's so fast that you will not soon be able to play traditional blast beats, and you will always have to switch hands. And if you just being able to play traditional blast beat with your right together with kick drum and stuff like that and nothing else, then you are limiting yourself when it comes to speed. For example, now I can play like and that helped me to play. So that's it for today. I hope that was somewhat helpful. I try and give you all the information from my personal experience, not like I watched the video from someone else and then, oh, sounds cool, and I just apply it and use it. It's all from my own experience, and if you need some lessons, I will definitely arrange that. If you have questions regarding this or that blast beat technique or whatever, I will ask you to share this video or you ask me any question, and then I will of course answer you. Comment, subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you very much and goodbye.